सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः Vandana, Hariom Vandana, I don't think you're muted. Can you mute yourself, please?
Hariom.
Hariom.
You want me to mute?
Sorry?
You want me to mute me? Mute.
Yes, please mute yourself.
Okay, okay. I'm sorry.
Okay. So what have we studied so far? We have studied about how we tend to delegate happiness. We do not keep our happiness as protected as we would our anything, our children, our documents, our home. We will not protect our happiness with any kind of dedication. So we found that it is very fragile. However, even though it is fragile, it is not an optional thing for us because a human being cannot survive without happiness. So it's not an optional thing. Therefore, we have to take it as our personal responsibility. Do not expect other people and other things to take care of your happiness. You have to do this yourself. And why would you not do it? Because truly, that's the only pursuit we all have. We have no other pursuit. Imagine it's the most important thing of our life. And yet we treat it as if it's the least important thing. We are all the time pursuing it, but we never stop to ask, where is it? We have some concept in our mind and we are running behind that concept. So we have to find out, where is it? This is the most critical thing for a human being to know. Where is it? Now, the problem in this is everybody believes they know. They're so sure that, okay, I know I may not have happiness, but I know where it is. What Vedanta wants to draw our attention to is we don't have happiness because we don't know where it is. There is no such thing as I know where it is, but I can't get it. There is no such thing. If you don't have it, you don't know where it is. So now we have to hunt it down. Now we have problems on the way of hunting this thing down. Most important is a fiction that we are sold constantly. Okay, so we've tried to so where have we come in our discussion so far? That the first and most important thing we will do with reference to happiness is find its location. Okay, that's where we. Yeah, Bharat, you have a question?
Yeah, so knowing where it's located is a major hurdle crossed, right? I mean, then the pursuit of actually finding it carries on.
Uh, yes and no. The thing is that when we claim we have found where it is, I mean, we've identified its location, that identification is not correct. That's where the problem lies. So when you say if you found the location, then it's very easy. Yes, I mean, you'd say yes to that. But how do you say yes to that? Because everybody believes that they know the location. And if you really, really knew the location, there isn't so much hard work after that. There is actually nothing much to do because you figured something out. So it seems like first you figure out the location and then you start putting in some kind of hard work. But no, once you get it where the location is, there's actually no hard work. So even though in the beginning of the book we are saying here's the location, we hope that by the end of the book we know where the location is. Stating where the location is and knowing where the location is are two completely different things. So, Bharat, I have to go back to my original answer yes and no.
So what was Bharat's question? I missed out on that.
Want to repeat your question, Bharat?
Yeah, so knowing where happiness is located is a major hurdle crossed. Is that correct?
Yeah. So now I've got the question. I've also got your yes and no answer, Janki. Yeah.
So Janki, on the same same line of thinking. So like Bharat said, so knowing, so it seems like today in spiritual market, you can say like everybody knows the self, the answer. But I think it's the way to get it is causing more confusion to have a right direction. Again, now we seem to be lost. Okay, it's in the self, but again, how you reach to the self is seems to be need more direction, the right direction to get to there.
Yes and no again. If you understand what does it even mean that it is in the self? What does the sentence mean? Where in the self? What in the self? Who is the self? So, it's a platitude really. When we say it, it is something we have heard people say, and we also say it, and we have some vague, should I say, some vague concept of what this thing means. The whole thing is to figure out what it really means. And once you figure out what it really means, it seems so much work after that.
Right.
In fact, if you figure it out, then you've almost you have become the self when you finally figure it out.
Yeah, even I mean, in everything, I seem to be saying yes and no. The people will think I'm only one answer for everything, but yes and no again, because it all depends on what all these things mean. That's the whole problem with this whole pursuit. A person can be saying all the right things, can be very far away from everything.
Right. Yes. And I want to thank you for giving that right direction because, as I said, knowing that self journey, even knowing the four like the yogas you have to do, bhakti yoga, karma yoga, but I actually didn't know until I heard your class that it's such a fine line between karma bhoga and karma yoga. So you could be thinking that you're doing the right karma, but you're not getting there because you're doing the wrong way. So that's what I meant. It's very important. Like what you're saying is we do it the right way. And thank you for giving it the right direction through your classes.
Glad you found it useful.
Janki, just one point. This is like saying, as we've said in Vedanta treatise in one of the earlier chapters, the second chapter, that ultimately when we say God, it is still an X. We still have to figure out that X. And this whole pursuit is really to figure out that X. So in that context, I mean, say this answer that we know that it is in the self is incomplete. In fact, it's horribly incomplete because we know the direction, we know where it is not, but we still have to crack the X.
Yeah, it is such a sad situation that when we claim that it is in the self and that I'm seeking it in the self, what I do is I go to my room, I'm alone, or I go in nature so that everything is calm, or I do yoga. We feel that all this is somehow finding it in yourself.
No.
same thing about pursuing likes and dislikes. It's a very frightening thing because it's almost like every interpretation we have of this thing turns out to be not right. So it's a very frightening thing and sad thing because both the teacher as well as the taught are sort of helpless. How does one get to anyone? How does one deliver this knowledge? But unfortunately, eventually, you understand that it's impossible to deliver knowledge. People have to take knowledge. People have to grow with knowledge. So
we can understand. We can understand our frustration. We can understand now your frustration also in explaining it. So would it be right to frame the question? We know it is not in the external objects, which is what we pursue. We say it is within. Within is equal to self, but self is still equal to X, and we have to solve for X. And the pursuit is to solve for X in arithmetical, mathematical language.
Yes. And the problem with this is we all are under the belief and opinion that we know it.
Yeah.
So how are we going to look? Yeah, Bharat.
So how do you know that you're doing it right?
You will never know. This is our problem. The Bhagavad Gita has an answer to this. Ya pashyati sa pashyati. He who sees it, sees it. Nobody's going to know. You're going to know after a very long time. You know it. You have a perception of it. Your teacher has a perception. Okay, anyone who is more developed than us and has the available facts, they need very few facts, but they should have some facts, can tell, but they can't tell us. So we continue on our ignorant path until the knocks and shocks force us to think more and understand it more. Even when we tell people, get up in the morning and study, most people, I want to study. Some people, dedicated people, they do get up and study. But, cracking the code is not that simple.
So, Janki ji, like
Sorry,
according to you, I'm sorry.
1 second, Samta. Yes, Bharat.
So a more evolved person can tell where the level is at of the student, but there's no way he can communicate to him about the journey ahead. Is that what you're saying?
No. The developed person can see where you're making a mistake. But he can't tell you because the people who are making a mistake are never available to be told anything. He can't tell you. He can tell you, but you will say, no, you're wrong. Now, what will he say to that?
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, in connection with this, if a person is at peace, that should be an indicator that you are doing something right, or perhaps not an indicator because you could be tamasic and at peace. Is that correct? Is that the reason?
You could be tamasic and at peace. You could be very good and at peace. A good person will experience peace. That doesn't mean he's making any progress.
So, Janki ji, like the other
1
equation.
second. Sorry, Samta, 1 second. Nilüfer, you're okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Samta.
So, like the equation that you said along these lines, that right action, right intention will lead to right action, to right outcome or the result. So, in the spiritual journey, is that really also will help this equation? Your right intention, you searching the self with right intention, and at your best, you're trying to do the right action, and hopefully it'll, again, it's not be a blind path that you're following. So that will bring some solace that at least we know we are heading in the right direction and not going in circles and circles and wondering why we're not reaching there.
Okay, I seem to be making everybody feel really bad today. It's not so bad. But right intention leads to right action and leads to right result is correct. However, what is right intention? Right intention is not merely wanting something. The mind has to want it and the intellect has to strategize for it. If both these things are not there, the intention is not right yet. Like, for instance, taken on a more practical level, and then it becomes very clear. Suppose I want to help you, right? This is my intention. Now, I do all sorts of random activities for you, and I'm actually harming you. Then it's not going to give it to me, right? The common example of that is you want to help somebody a lot. So you see a butterfly in a cocoon. So you break the cocoon and say, I want to release the butterfly. The butterfly will die, it will not be helped. So right intention includes the intent in the sense of the mind wants to help, and the intellect has a proper methodology, a proper strategy to do this, a proper understanding.
Same thing goes for oneself working on themselves with the right intention, right strategy.
Now there is a joker in this pack also. The thing is, I don't know whether I'm unnecessarily complicating life for everyone, but when you say I'm doing the right thing, that right thing that you're doing could be in another context a very wrong thing. So, right means right for that time and that place. It is quite possible that what you actually did was a wrong thing. Wrong means in some grand scheme of moralistic ethics or something like that. But for you at that time, it was the right thing to do. So this right is also very, very tricky thing over here. That is why in the scripture it's referred to by the word dharma. Now dharma, no, people translate as religion, which is in the sense of your right action is your religion in that sense, but not as in this religion versus that religion. But dharma is supposed to be a very difficult thing to tell. What is your dharma? And we are so glib about it. There's no thought, no nothing. This is what I should do. How much have you thought about what you should do? So it's not so simple, all these things. In some sense, and in some sense it's very intuitive. Okay.
Yes.
Aditi.
Jankichi, you said that right intention with using the intellect. Again, intellect also depends on how developed your intellect is. So it goes back to whether you're actually doing the right thing. And again, that goes back to the right action may not be right, but it's right according to you. So isn't it like we are just into this whole circle?
Yes.
Very disheartening.
Sorry. What shall I say? That the heartening part of it is that for you, whatever somebody else may think, that action may be right. So it's very individualistic. Again, let's take it on a very you take out the abstraction and take it on a very what shall I say, very non-abstract, concrete way. Suppose there's a child in second standard and they are told to draw a cat. Okay. Why is there an echo? Are you people hearing an echo? No, it's gone. Okay.
No, it's stopped now.
Okay. So he is asked to draw a cat. He draws a cat. Other children draw a cat. One circle on top, one circle below, and one tail behind. Okay? And everybody says, oh, lovely cat. For that child, that is a good cat. Then he comes to 10th standard and he draws a cat in a way that it looks perfectly like a cat. For that 10th standard student, that's a great drawing. Now, the same boy becomes Picasso and draws a cat now, and it is not even recognizable as a cat, and yet it's a fantastic thing. You see how it's like for whom, what, why, where, all these things are involved.
Jankiji, but it's not as simple as drawing a cat, right? When it comes to emotions, maybe you may think at a very nascent stage that you have gone past or you've improved upon whatever, but maybe that may not be the case when you think that you have grown out of something. So
It doesn't matter. That's what I'm trying to say. The 2nd standard fellow's cat was acceptable cat. The 10th standard fellow's cat was acceptable cat. And Picasso's cat is also acceptable. You don't have to worry in some, I don't know, some fabulous scheme of things. Like this is good, and this is bad, and this is evil, and this is noble, and all that. You have to erase all this and say, okay, now at this stage, what is the action that I need to do? This stage, this place, this here, and do that.
So even in the larger scheme, if that is not the right action, it's still okay to do that.
Absolutely. Take another example, right? Suppose I'm an alcoholic. I beat up my wife and children, or my husband and children. I keep beating them up and I keep drinking alcohol. Okay, and one day it occurs to me, what am I doing? I should take care of my husband and children and not keep beating everybody up. So then I go into rehab and I become good and I start taking care of my family and I make them food and I make them jalebis and chaklis. I don't know what, I keep doing something for them. Right? So this person is now doing the right action. Okay, all this person can think of is the family, but it's good for this person. However, now if it's you and you only think only my family, then maybe that's not correct for you. So it's all, individual. So we don't have to worry about is it right or is it wrong. It's do I need to do it right now or not? That's my only question.
Yeah, got it. Thank you, Jankiji. We keep hearing it, but I think it just sometimes just vanishes and then again you remind us. So thank you.
Yeah, Taruna.
Jankiji, can there be a conflicting dharma for the same person?
Always, that's all the problems of our human life, my dear. If it was simple, then why would we even have a class? Why would we even have scriptures at all? So simple. I know what to do. I did it. Life is done. No, life won't work like this.
So how to find what needs to be done? I mean, sometimes the contrary.
Your own conviction, finally. There's no other thing. You are your only teacher. You are your only guru. You are your only compass. You are your only guide. Unfortunately, this compass of ours gets magnetized. So it's showing us not somewhere else. So the role of the teacher is to demagnetize, so that it will show the right thing and so that you will go the right way. But you can't really do anything.
And again, you will not understand that your compass is magnetized.
Well, how will you know? The very equipment with which you have to know is not functioning. The operating system is only not working. Now, what are you going to do? So it's all complicated. Now, let us say the operating system is not working. And you start taking, as far as you're concerned, at least right actions, even with that messed up operating system. The operating system starts rightening itself. So the important thing is that we just apply ourselves as best we can. Because when you're applying your intellect, what happens is somehow you begin to sense that, okay, this is not quite okay. This is not quite okay. And then little, you come back.
Hmm. Right. Right. Thank you.
Deepak Galaxy is whom?
Sorry, that's me, Janki ji.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, sorry. I'm on the phone, so that's why. Yeah. Taruna's question was, I'm just checking out that, can there be a different dharma for the same person?
It's conflicting.
Conflicting dharma for the same person. So is that so, or is it that there can be conflicting dharmas depending upon who's looking at that situation, and what is it that I mean, say a parent might be wanting to achieve something, the teacher may be wanting to achieve something, and therefore there could be a clashing, conflicting dharma. But for the same person, can there be a conflicting dharma?
Yes.
So what was the good example that you gave? For the same person, there is a conflicting dharma.
Yeah, like Karna, for instance, he has just been told that he's the brother of the Pandavas.
Mm.
He has a lifetime of gratitude that he owes to Duryodhana. Now these are his brothers, and the Lord himself says, "Go fight for your brothers." So many conflicting dharmas for that poor fellow.
See, he may experience varying dharmas, that we can understand. But theoretically, going by the dharma, meaning the let's say universal dharma, the tenet, the law, there would only be one right dharma for him, whatever it may be. It could either be that no, your allegiance to Duryodhana is higher than your your brotherly kind of genetic relationship, whatever it is. He may find conflicting dharmas, but ultimately there is only one right dharma for him, right?
Yes. Yes.
And then Taruna's next question is, how do you determine, that out of all the conflicting dharmas, what was the right dharma for me?
Yeah. So now you see, even
I guess the higher goal. It depends as to,
even you're using the terminology conflicting dharmas, because it seems like, to us, it seems like there are multiple rights here. You're not choosing between a right and a wrong. You're choosing between multiple rights. That's what she meant by conflicting dharmas. But what you're meaning is that eventually there is one right thing. That is also true. Every question you get the answer yes also and no also. I don't know why anyone attends this class.
No, fair enough.
Your mind.
Okay, I had raised my hand. Basically, this was just a side intervention after Taruna's thing. I raised my hand to say that, this discussion was happening. How do I know if my intellect is not right? Should I still be doing it? I think you may want to quote the example that you give later in the book about that an awake driver, even though he's not very good at driving, is better than an asleep driver behind the wheel.
Yes, but I gave another example that is there in the book. So we did another example. You didn't like the new example?
No, I thought the one on the wheel was a lot more pressing, but then that's okay. Yeah, okay.
Anvesh.
Namaste, Janki ji. So I mean, this is what confuses me a little bit because of, I mean, so very good discussion about the right action, but another twist in the tale is that people are talking about determinism and that we are a witness to karma unfolding, and that we really don't have much choice. It feels, I mean, it looks as if we do have a choice, but in the end, it's like a movie playing out, and we are just the witness. And all we have to do is to understand we are the witness and we are free of it. So that complicated, I mean, aspect to this discussion, I wanted to introduce that, to ask you what is your opinion on that, because it feels a little bit helpless. Then it's like that's, I think, the theme of the discussion is that we don't know exactly what the dharma is. Then if we add this aspect to this discussion, that we really don't have a choice and it's going to unfold anyway. This interpretation I've heard a few times, different places. But at the same time, it feels as if there is something you have to do. You have to spiritualize your life, and you will progress along this spiritual path. Um, is that preordained, or is that something that we are actually choosing to do? So this is my confusion.
Okay, it is off the point, but okay, let's do it, because now that you've put it in everybody's mind, I guess we should deal with it. Now, both are true. Okay, somebody will tell you that it is all predetermined and you are just the witness, and that's true. And somebody will tell you that it's all in your hands and everything that happens because you have willed or chosen it to be so, and that is also true. Now, the reason you find these two sentences, what should I say, contradictory is, and that gives me a chance to go on my favorite topic, is because authors, teachers, speakers use words differently. That is why I make this statement, and every must probably think I'm really fanatical. Do not go to different teachers. Do not read different authors. Not because other people don't know. They know as much. I mean, people who know, and people who don't know. But the way language is used by people is very, very different. So a person who tells you that, see, all of this is nothing, there's just this play going on, you are the witness. What he means by this is the difficulty is about who is the you, right? The body is doing its thing, the mind is doing its thing, the intellect is doing the thing, but the self within you has got nothing to do with any of this. You are that self. Identify with that and let the body, mind, and intellect do its own thing. That is what he means. That is the way the person who told you this uses language. The person who tells you it's all in your hands is treating you as your intellect. That you now means the intellect. It is by the intellect's choices, either conscious choices or default choices, that drive your life. Conscious choice means intellect made it. Default choice is intellect made no choice, so the mind did whatever it felt. Like, for instance, how much money you will have is dependent on what choices you make. Those choices can be the choice to, let's say, I want to invest in this, whatever. I want to invest in. Okay, let's say there's an IPO going on and you have to decide, shall I buy these shares or not buy these shares? Conscious choice is that you chose to buy or you chose not to buy. What is unconscious choice? You made no choice. Now, when you make no choice, the default choice here is I won't buy. So if you had bought and made a profit, then that was the result, or loss, it would have been the result of your conscious choice. But the fact that you did not choose, okay, you got a default option, which may be a loss of opportunities or whatever. You got the default option, right? So if I invite you to a party and I tell me by this evening, will you come or not? And by this evening, you haven't told me. Default choice is you won't go. So whatever, the good and the bad was the default result. Okay, so everything that happens in my life happens because of my choice, my intellect's choice. But none of this in any way affects the self. Okay, so far so good. Right, there's one more thing. When we talk of determinism, like it's all destiny, destiny refers to the present. Present means you have arrived at this point because of everything you did in the past. All your choices have made you what you are today. And that is your destiny. Today also you have the capacity of choice just as you had it all along. How you choose today plus what you have chosen in the past will be your tomorrow. So all three are correct, but you have to understand the usage of that language correctly.
Thank you, Janki ji. It is a little bit clearer, but I think it's still the same confusion that everybody else is, about what to choose. And I think that and the about the doing a selfless action or being detached from the action. I think that's the only guide I can think about from the Gita, right? But that's very hard to apply. it's
But you're not understanding what those words mean. It's the easiest guide. Be detached means use your intellect. Just step back for a minute and think about what is it you're trying to do. And take the action that will take you to that goal. Being attached means going with your mind. You feel like it, or you don't feel like it, or you're frightened, or you're excited. Something the mind is going through. All you do is it's like putting on the gear of the intellect, gear up the intellect. And once you're in that gear, you will eventually be on cruise control. But you have to get there first.
Thank you, Janki ji.
So, Janki ji, I know it's probably still going along Anvesh's question, like he introduced. I have a similar question because coming to both sides of people, one of the spiritual ones who are, okay, you need to do more sadhana, and then they will be like, oh, even that, is it not in our hands? Like Anvesh said, is it a movie? And then even the people who don't believe in there's something like spiritual, they'll be like, so one quote that often get, and then I don't know how to react to that, is Guru Nanak's in Guru Granth, it says, Kare karave ape aap manas ke nahi kuch haat. Again, he is the only one doer. He does everything. Nothing is in hands of human beings. So is it the same going to the first self that you said, as in the self where it doesn't affect not the body, mind, self? So to get clarified that Guru Nanak's quote. Okay, thank you.
Not only Guru Nanak, Bhagavad Gita says that everything I do, you do nothing, he says. So what do all these words mean? That is what we have to get. There's no contradiction. We have to follow Shankara. Shankara says there is no contradiction in the scriptures. Just hold on to that. If you find a contradiction, you've not understood. It is that simple. Right. So now here we have one hand, he tells us it is all in your hand. I do nothing. On the other hand, he says, I do everything. Nothing is in your hand. Okay. Now, what does this mean? When he says, I do nothing, it means that the self is the inactive principle. When he says, I do everything, what it means is without the self, nothing can happen. Now, take an example to understand this. Electricity says, I don't create light or heat or sound. Correct statement? Electricity says, I create heat or light or sound. Also correct. What it means is that electricity by itself is neither heat nor light nor sound. But when it functions through the equipments, these manifestations take place.
So your best bet is in life, again, to make your equipment right, then self. Okay, so that should be our goal with our intellect.
Yeah, but in this context, your original question was, does God do or not do? The answer is both. He does in the sense like without him nothing will happen. Bhagwan ki marzi ke bina ek patta nahi hilta. Without him nothing will happen. But what happens is not his jurisdiction. Like whether you get light from the electricity or you'll get sound or you get cool air is not Electricity is responsible. And yet, without the electricity, none of these will happen.
Thank you.
Oh,
Actually, I have a question.
sorry, somebody said something?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, can we say that the more evolved a person is, the more he's able to exercise free will?
No. There's no
Because, like,
correlation between his evolution and free will. His capacity of choice is something with him at all times, from the lowest to the highest. It is common to everybody. And everybody's all the time choosing. It's either a conscious choice or a default choice. Default choice means I choose not to choose. In which case, certain consequences will happen exactly, I mean, not exactly, in the same manner as if you had chosen, there would be consequences. If you don't choose, also, there are consequences. So, evolution has got nothing to do with that.
because realized people, like you said, they could even choose to kill somebody and know exactly what they're doing. Right? So, whereas for somebody who's not realized, for them to do the same act is a very hideous crime.
Yes, but that
So
is
this person,
not with choice, but with knowledge. For instance, a young child is told you cannot touch the electricity board. An electrical engineer enters the electric room. So, what you can do and what you can't do has not to do with choice, but with knowledge. That way, the child can also touch the electric board. The child can also enter the electric room, but consequences the child will face because it is done in ignorance. So the evolved person makes wiser choices because they're with knowledge, obviously. And the non evolved makes foolish choices. But the choice element is the same.
thank you.
Ma'am, I have just one question to.
Sorry, Karan, I did see your hand, but I thought you just forgot to lower it. Go
Ma'am,
ahead.
Deepak Sethi said eventually there is one right dharma. But if we know that, then where is the conflict? So the point is that at a particular time, in a certain period, you feel that confliction. So
Yeah,
how
he
to
was,
decide what is eventually the one thing?
yeah, he was just using language differently. Often we feel we are contradicting one another because our language, we use language differently. So he was using it in the sense of eventually, that means there is a right action for you. At the moment, you don't know. So when you're feeling conflicted, it's because you don't still know. But eventually, something will be proved right or wrong, right? Which was the right action for you. He was using it in that sense.
So means a person who is clear, there is no conflict for him.
No, that's not true. There will be conflict all the way up to realization. There will not come in a time in your life where there are no conflicts. And if such a time does come, it's a clear indication that you're stagnating. Because you're not struggling. There's no challenge. The moment there's a challenge, there's a struggle, you're doing something new, you'll get conflicted again. You'll get stressed, you'll get conflicted. All these things will start happening. But if you do roj ka roj, same to same every day, then no conflicts.
Right.
So if you are struggling for improvement, that conflict has to come. How can it not come? Because you're now going into an unknown area. Na? Whatever you covered, you've covered. Now you're getting the next step. So all hell goes.
Right. So suppose at a certain point you have two conflicting dharma, you feel that way. When you are able to understand that, you will cover that level only, but then next level of conflict come. It means that okay. Thank you.
all the time. Conflict is part of the human condition. If you're a human being, you will have conflict. If you don't have conflict, you are not living up to the being a human being.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, so was there anyone?
Just
Huh?
yeah,
Yes?
just a clarification on this last statement that conflict will always be there. But if a person has a goal and if they are presented with two choices in any given situation, that person is clear what will take them to the goal. Unless it is something very so, how can it be that there will always be conflict?
You are yourself saying, unless it is very, not always conflict means every second there isn't a conflict, but there won't be a time in your life where there's no conflict at all until you realize something you will be struggling at, right? Your unless there is very answers your question. You are
Okay,
assuming
right.
everything is going normal, but no, it doesn't.
Right. So largely, most of the time, a person who has a goal and they know what they need to do to achieve that, for them, the conflict is not in every decision. Maybe at particular stages, depending on what is happening that time.
Yeah, yeah. It when it said it's all the time there doesn't mean it's every second of the day there. It means in life you will constantly be faced with challenges. Not like every second as a challenge, but you'll cruise for some time. Things will look like they're going very good, and then wham, all hell breaks loose. So it is better that you make the hell break loose yourself rather than wait for something to come and hit you. And you do that by constantly upgrading your goal.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Momita. I think you people just don't like this book. You all don't want to study it at all. Okay. Momita. Also, the dilemmas get more complex with evolution. Yes. Yes, Momita, the dilemmas get more complex with evolution. Just like when you start studying mathematics, it all seems very difficult. 2 plus 2, 2 plus 7, and then two digits, 18 plus 27. And you think, my God, I'm adding 2 digits. I'm doing this great thing. And everybody will tell you, your parents and your grandparents will say, wow, they add 2 digits now in class. But when you do your PhD in mathematics, your dilemmas will be completely different. So, yes, with evolution, dilemmas get more complex. Correct, no, Deepraj?
Yes, very correct. Now we don't even use numbers.
Oh, okay, my God, okay. He's doing his PhD in mathematics. Can you believe it? Such complicated things people do. I'm glad I have only Vedanta to do. This is an easy subject. All right, so now, okay, everyone. Is anyone new? And Tisha, are you new to class? I seem to see this name for the first time.
It's my second time, but I've been following on YouTube. It's
Oh,
my second Zoom. I'm actually in Canada.
oh, okay. It all sounds very exotic to hear people from all over the place, and I can see somebody is in what was it? Knockest in Belgium. Somebody's in Bangalore. Somebody is in Sikkim. It just seems so exotic, right? All over the place. We all are. Samta, which city are you in? You're in the US somewhere, right?
Yes, Janki ji. It's a small city, Augusta, Georgia. It's in Georgia near Florida. Atlanta, it's 2 hours east of Atlanta.
Okay.
So, yes. Actually, in my mind, I already am thinking to have a retreat with you over here. So we're
Yeah,
gathering more and more people and planning how can we have a retreat here.
yeah, wonderful. Let's do. Come for the Keno Upanishad retreat. We are having it sometime.
Thank you.
And Joyce, where are you?
I am in Cyprus, Nicosia in Cyprus.
I really have to. So Tisha is in Canada And isn't that amazing? All of us from all across the globe, all interested in Vedanta and self-purification. We are blessed to be in this community. It's a really nice thing. So Tisha, so you know that class, there actually is a class over here, and we didn't just fake you and say that, oh, there's a class on this book, and then when you came here, no class at all. So we are doing this book. Okay, this is the book we are doing, and we will now hopefully get on to it. Anyone? Yes, fine, right? So bear with us. Okay, now where were we? We were through this book. We finished this para, right? Didn't we finish this para? Okay, that's good. Together through the book, we will use the process of logic and reason and some occasional fun to establish truths. Some occasional fun is necessary because people who take to philosophy start behaving like so serious, like the end of the world is coming. So one important aspect of philosophy is that if philosophy doesn't teach us to take life lightly, then what is supposed to? So have to have fun as you study. To have fun doesn't mean now you make this like, okay, everybody tell one joke. It's not like that. But just, it's okay. We make mistakes, we'll do silly things, we ask. It's okay. It's all right. It's part of the human condition. But we need to be concentrating more on facts and less on opinions. It's a very important part of it. This is the grand tradition of the ancient Vedantic scriptures from where this knowledge has been culled. In the process of teaching, unfortunately, opinions have to be given. If you don't give any opinion, in the sense you don't give any illustration, you don't bring it down to some kind of non-abstract way, you're not helping. And yet, if you do too much of it, then you're going away from facts. So we have to make some kind of balance between these two things. Vedanta is a body of knowledge that was prevalent in ancient India. It is on the philosophy of Vedanta that all Indian tradition and culture is based. And it's a fabulous thing. You can read the book Symbolism of Hindu Gods and Rituals by A. Parthasarathi. You will be able to see like how everything in India only explains Vedanta, like everything. Every festival, all the iconography, the dance, the literature, the music, it's all expressing Vedanta. It's an amazing thing. How did they manage to get this knowledge just across the board everywhere? It is on the philosophy of Vedanta that all Indian tradition, it's a big statement, to make all Indian tradition and culture is based. It is the secret behind its then success. Then success means the success we used to have in ancient times. Vedanta is the science of life and living. Like science, Vedanta philosophy has been handed down from time immemorial. Just like there's no particular author of science, right? So many great souls have added so much into this whole medley of science. So too Vedanta. So many great souls down the ages have said so many wonderful things. And they are now, it's an ocean of literature. I mean, if anyone says I've read Vedanta, they are faking it because it's just simply not possible anymore. You would do nothing in your life if you attempted to read all the texts. But luckily, you don't need to read them all. You need to read one or two, but get that. And when you get that, you will know them all. You don't have to study them all. Like science, Vedanta philosophy has been handed down from time immemorial. But while science and technology may get dated, Vedanta doesn't. Suppose you read a science textbook from 200 years ago, it may not be worthy today. But if you read a Vedanta book from 10,000 years ago, it will still be worthy today. It's never going to get outdated. Why? The laws don't change. The nature of human beings does not change, even though their possessions and situations do. Think about what was Arjuna's situation. He had a war to fight against his family. He had, as the prince, it was his responsibility to bring back righteousness. Now we don't have to fight wars. We are not princes. We have none of the situation that Arjuna faced. But the knowledge that was taught to him is the same knowledge that we need to face our world of social media, of job interviews, and all these. What Arjuna could not have even dreamt what we have to go through. And yet the knowledge both he and we learn is exactly the same. Yes, Reshmi.
Just this previous statement about science and technology. So technology, yes, it may get outdated, but science is also based on laws only, right? So how would that change?
Laws don't change, our understanding of those laws improves. Like, for instance, take Newtonian physics. It's not that he is proved wrong, but Einsteinian physics, I can't say replaced it, has added more to it, right? So today, if you say go just by Newton, it won't work anymore. Even the laws.
So that would be more of an interpretation of or understanding of the law, right? The law itself will remain the same, like gravity will remain the same forever.
Yes, except, yes, correct. The law is the same, and science tries to find out what is that law. And it gets better and better at doing it. In Vedanta, it works the other way. They already know the law. We are not improving the laws as we go along. We are not getting a better understanding of those laws as we go along. It's the same law. We are not tweaking the laws.
I'm not understanding. So, I mean, it is the same in science also, right?
That's why I gave the example of Newton and Einstein. No, are you aware of physics? Because I need to find you an example that you're aware of. So if okay, let's you know that at some point in this world, the people believed that it was a geocentric universe. You're aware of that, right? The
No.
science of the day, like 200-300 years ago, 300, 400-500 years ago, said that the Earth was stationary and the heavens moved around it. That is called a geocentric universe. This was their worldview. Over time, Galileo and other people came along and said this is not true. It is a heliocentric universe. So the science of that time, which claimed it was geocentric, got replaced with a new science which claimed that it was heliocentric. Then we learned that the sun is stationary and the earth goes round. As time went along, we found out that our sun is not stationary either. It is also going around. It is going around the center of our galaxy, right? So all along, the conceptually, it has been changing.
Right, that is correct. But that is more as we are evolving, people are understanding it better. But in principle, what was there was always there.
But it was not known. What is there, but we don't know it.
Correct. So that is like philosophy also, right? It was always there, but we are not understanding.
No. They're two separate things. The philosophers know it. And they've written it down. And it's there in the text. And nobody's improving on that. In science, they knew something, they wrote it down, and they're improving on it. What is the difficulty? Momita has given you another example, lobotomy. It's a good example. At one point, they used to cut off the front, the part of the brain. And then people actually, they stopped having seizures and whatever else they were having, but they became vegetables. So then lobotomy was sort of rejected as science. There was bloodletting earlier. That was also rejected. Okay, so the nature of human beings does not change, even though their possessions and situations do. Vedanta is an education on the eternal principles that govern human life and ending. Okay, so that's it for today. We will meet again next. Right. Hari Om.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Janaki
Hari Om.
ji,